What if everything you thought you knew about love was built on distance, secrets, and a ticking clock? Because in 90 Day Fiancé, before the 90 Days Season 8, love wasn't just tested, it was exposed. This wasn't just another season of long-distance romance. This was a collision of cultures, expectations, heartbreak, and in some cases, devastating truth. Couples who once promised forever are now strangers. Others, against all odds, are still holding on. And here's the real shocker. Some of the relationships that looked completely doomed survived, while others that seemed strong collapsed in ways nobody saw coming. From secret betrayals, to emotional breakdowns, to shocking tell-all revelations that changed everything, this season delivered one of the most unpredictable relationship outcomes in franchise history. So now, in 2026, the question everyone is asking is simple, but the answers are anything but. Who is still together? Who broke apart? And what really happened when the cameras stopped rolling? Stay with us, because what you're about to hear goes far deeper than reality TV drama. 4 years, 90 Day Fiancé, before the 90 Days has occupied a unique place in American reality television. Unlike the flagship series, this version strips away the safety net. There's no visa yet, no guaranteed future. Just two people, often from completely different worlds, meeting for the first time in person after building a relationship online. And that's where things get dangerous, because what begins as emotional connection can quickly unravel when reality hits. Season 8, which aired across late 2025 into early 2026, followed 8 international couples, each navigating love across borders, from the Philippines to Nigeria, Morocco to Australia. Some had been together for years without meeting. Others rushed into love after only months. And like every season before it, the stakes were brutally high. The formula is simple, but psychologically intense. You travel across the world. You meet your partner for the first time. And within days or weeks, you decide if they're worth building a life with. But here's what makes Season 8 stand out. The emotional volatility. This wasn't just about romance. It was about trust, identity, cultural friction, financial pressure, and in some cases, survival of deeply flawed relationships. Viewers watched, parents questioning motives, secrets being exposed, partners accusing each other of cheating, emotional breakdowns captured in real time. And by the time the tell-all approached, the entire season had transformed into a question of one thing. Now let's get to the truth, based on the latest verified updates. Because not every relationship ended in heartbreak, but many absolutely did. Couples still together in 2026. Despite overwhelming odds, a few couples managed to survive the chaos. Forrest and Sheena, one of the most talked about couples this season, and surprisingly, one of the strongest. Their relationship faced early skepticism, especially from Forrest's family, who questioned Sheena's honesty about finances. But during the season, Sheena opened up about her past, and that emotional vulnerability changed everything. By the end, they were engaged, and as of 2026, they are still together, actively planning a future and exploring the K-1 visa process. Laura and Birkan. This relationship looked unstable from the start. Jealousy issues, financial tension, accusations, but somehow they made it through. Reports indicate they are still together in 2026, having worked through serious relationship challenges, including concerns about Birkan's gambling behavior. Jovon and Annalyn, perhaps the most unusual couple of the season. They were already married before meeting in person. Yes, married through an online connection, then finally meeting face-to-face during filming. Their journey wasn't smooth. Cultural differences and personal expectations created tension. And yet, as of 2026, they are still together, continuing their relationship despite major struggles, including personal loss. Elise and Joshua. Now this is where things get complicated. During the season, their relationship appeared unstable, filled with conflict and emotional disconnect. At one point, they broke up, but in a twist revealed around the tell-all, they confirmed they were back together. As of 2026, they are still a couple, though their long-term stability remains uncertain. Now, this is where the emotional fallout becomes impossible to ignore. Aviva and Stig, a relationship that once seemed promising, ended abruptly. After plans involving a potential visa and future together, things unraveled, and reports indicate Stig ultimately ended the relationship. No reconciliation, just a sudden end. Emma and Ziad, compatibility issues proved too much. Despite attempts to build something real, their differences, including emotional baggage from past relationships, led to a breakup. By 2026, they are no longer together. Lisa and Daniel, one of the most controversial couples of the season. Secrets, miscommunication, questions about intentions on both sides. Ultimately, the relationship collapsed. They are no longer together. Rick and Trisha, this relationship was defined by one word: chaos. Infidelity accusations, emotional arguments, trust issues, and by the end it simply didn't survive. They split following explosive conflicts during the season. From a relationship psychology standpoint, Season 8 reinforces a pattern experts have been pointing out for years. These relationships are built under extreme emotional conditions. You have long-distance emotional dependency, idealized online personas, cultural misunderstandings, financial and immigration pressure, and then suddenly reality hits. Experts often describe this as accelerated intimacy collapse, where emotional bonds form quickly but are not structurally stable. And Season 8 proves it. Even couples that survived are navigating serious issues: trust, communication gaps, cultural identity conflicts. From a legal standpoint, the K-1 visa process itself adds pressure. Couples must prove legitimacy quickly. That urgency forces decisions that might not otherwise happen. As expected, American audiences had strong reactions. Online conversations have been deeply divided. Some viewers celebrated the couples who made it, especially Forrest and Sheena, whose emotional journey resonated with fans. Others were far more skeptical. Across social media, recurring themes emerged. Was this love or desperation? Too many red flags ignored. Some relationships felt transactional. And perhaps most interestingly, fans seem increasingly aware of the psychological toll of the show. What once felt like entertainment now feels, to many, like emotional risk. So what happens next? For the couple still together, the real challenge is just beginning. Because surviving the show is one thing. Building a life together is something else entirely. We could see visa approvals or denials, relocation struggles, financial pressure increasing, cultural adaptation challenges, and historically, many couples who survive before the 90 days don't always survive long-term. For the franchise itself, Season 8 signals a shift. Viewers are no longer just watching for romance. They're watching for truth. At its core, this isn't just about reality TV. It's about something deeply human: the desire to be loved, to take a risk, to believe that someone, somewhere in the world is meant for you. And for many Americans watching, these stories hit close to home. Because even outside reality TV, relationships are complicated, trust is fragile, and love, especially across distance, demands more than just emotion. It demands reality. So now we want to hear from you. Which couple did you believe in the most? And which breakup shocked you the most? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because this conversation is far from over. If you want more deep dive breakdowns like this, covering the biggest reality TV stories and what they really mean, make sure you subscribe. Because the truth behind the drama, it's always deeper than it looks. That if you only look at the surface, for couples from 90 Day Fiancé before the 90 Days Season 8 are still together in 2026. But survival doesn't always mean stability. And that distinction may be the most important takeaway from this entire season. Because when the camera stopped rolling and the emotional adrenaline of filming faded, these couples were left with something far more difficult than dramatic confrontations or airport reunions. They were left with real life. Take Forrest and Sheena. To viewers, their story evolved into one of redemption. Early skepticism from family members created tension that felt almost impossible to overcome. Questions about motives, financial transparency, and emotional honesty hovered over every interaction. But something shifted midway through the season. Sheena's willingness to confront her past, openly, vulnerably, changed how Forrest saw her. It also changed how the audience saw her. And that's important, because reality TV rarely allows space for genuine transformation. Yet here, viewers witnessed something that felt real. Still, according to sources and post-season updates, their relationship in 2026 is far from effortless. Long-distance strain continues. Visa uncertainty remains a looming pressure. And perhaps most significantly, they now face the challenge of building trust in a world where their relationship has already been publicly dissected. Because once millions of viewers have seen your most vulnerable moments, there is no such thing as a private relationship anymore. Now consider Laura and Birkan. If Forrest and Sheena represent cautious optimism, Laura and Birkan represent endurance through instability. Throughout the season, their relationship was marked by volatility, jealousy, emotional outbursts, financial concerns, including discussions around gambling behavior that raised serious questions about long-term compatibility. At several points, it seemed inevitable that they would break. And yet they didn't. Instead, what viewers saw was a couple repeatedly choosing to stay, even when walking away might have seemed easier. By 2026, they are still together. But experts would likely describe this as a high-conflict attachment dynamic, where emotional intensity becomes a binding force in itself. The danger in that, intensity can feel like love, even when it's not healthy. Then there's Jovon and Annalyn, a relationship that, from the very beginning, challenged traditional expectations. They were already married before meeting in person, a fact that stunned viewers and set the tone for one of the most unconventional journeys in franchise history. Their story raised immediate questions. How do you commit your life to someone you've never physically met? What does that say about emotional connection in the digital age? And more importantly, what happens when that digital bond meets reality? During filming, the cracks were visible. Cultural differences, personal grief, the overwhelming pressure of turning an online marriage into a real-world partnership. And yet, somehow, they remain together in 2026. But their story is less about romantic idealism and more about resilience in the face of complexity. Because their relationship isn't built on a traditional timeline. It's built on adaptation. And finally, Elise and Joshua, perhaps the most unpredictable trajectory of all. During the season, their relationship appeared unstable, almost irreparably so. Arguments escalated quickly. Emotional disconnect was evident. At times, it seemed like they were speaking entirely different languages, not culturally but emotionally. And then they broke up. For many viewers, that felt like the natural conclusion. But then came the tell-all, and with it, a twist that few saw coming. They were back together. As of 2026, they are still a couple. But insiders and reports suggest their relationship remains fragile, defined by cycles of separation and reconciliation. And that raises a critical question. Is staying together always the same as moving forward if the surviving couples represent complexity? The breakups represent clarity. Because in these relationships, something became undeniable. Emma and Ziad's breakup tells a different story. This wasn't about fading connection. It was about unresolved pasts. Throughout the season, emotional baggage played a central role in their interactions. Trust issues, shaped by previous relationships, created a foundation that was never fully stable. And in relationships like that, even small conflicts can trigger deeper wounds. By 2026, they had gone their separate ways. And for many viewers, it felt inevitable. Because sometimes, the problem isn't the relationship itself. It's everything that came before it. Lisa and Daniel's relationship, meanwhile, became one of the most controversial narratives of the season. From the beginning, there were questions about intentions, about honesty, about whether both individuals were truly invested in the same future. Miscommunication became a recurring theme. But more than that, there was a growing sense of distrust. And once trust begins to erode in a long-distance relationship, it rarely recovers. Their breakup wasn't just expected. It was in many ways unavoidable. And then there was Rick and Trisha, a relationship defined by chaos. Arguments weren't just frequent, they were explosive. Accusations of infidelity added fuel to an already volatile dynamic. And unlike some couples, where conflict coexists with connection, here, conflict became the relationship. By the end, there was nothing left to salvage. And when they split, it didn't feel surprising. It felt overdue. Every season of * 90 Day Fiancé before the 90 days builds toward one moment, the tell-all. And in season 8, that moment wasn't just dramatic. It was revealing. Because for the first time, all the narratives, the love stories, the conflicts, the unanswered questions came together in one space. And what emerged was something deeper than drama. It was perspective. Couples confronted each other. Cast members challenged each other's versions of events. And in some cases, truths that had been hidden during filming were finally brought into the open. According to reports, several key revelations shifted how viewers understood the entire season. Relationships that seemed stable were exposed as fragile. Breakups that felt sudden were revealed to have been building for months. And perhaps most importantly, the audience began to see the difference between what was shown and what was real. To truly understand why so many of these relationships struggled and why a few survived, you have to look beyond the drama. You have to look at human behavior. Long-distance relationships already carry unique psychological challenges. They rely heavily on communication, often digital. They allow individuals to present curated versions of themselves, and they delay the realities of compatibility. Now add cameras, add production schedules, add the pressure of knowing your relationship is being watched, judged, and analyzed by millions. What you get is an environment that amplifies everything. Small insecurities become major conflicts. Minor misunderstandings turn into emotional breakdowns. And underlying issues, the ones that might take months or years to surface in a normal relationship, are accelerated. That's what season 8 revealed. Not just who stayed together, but why there's a reason shows like * 90 Day Fiancé before the 90 days continue to dominate conversations in the United States. It's not just about entertainment. It's about reflection. These relationships force viewers to confront uncomfortable questions. What is love in a globalized world? How much does culture matter in a relationship? Can emotional connection truly overcome physical distance and real-world differences? And perhaps most importantly, how do we know when something is real? Season 8 didn't provide easy answers, but it made those questions impossible to ignore. For the couple still together, 2026 is not the end of the story. It's the beginning of a much harder chapter. Because now the cameras are gone. The audience has moved on to the next season. And what remains is real life. For some, that may mean growth. For others, it may reveal cracks that were temporarily held together by the intensity of the experience. And history suggests that not all of these relationships will survive long-term. But for now, these are the couples who made it. And just when you think you understand how these relationships played out, there's another layer. Because what happened off camera, after filming ended, may be even more revealing than what viewers saw on screen. In the next part, we uncover the hidden moments, the off-screen conflicts, and the updates that never made it to air. Because the truth behind season 8 is far from over.